Next to join us is Emily Schrader. Emily is an American-Israeli journalist and human rights activist from Israel, focusing on Israeli and Iranian affairs. Emily sits on the advisory board of the Institute for Voices of Liberty, a think tank focused on European and American Iranian policy, and has advised lawmakers across North America and Europe on Iranian policy, especially related to Tehran's terror proxies in the Middle East. Emily, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much for having me here. I am actually not Persian, so I feel a little bit out of place, but I'm very, very honored to be here with some of the people who I greatly admire for a long time. And I'm here because this has become an issue that's very, very dear to my heart. It has been for many years, even from the time I was in university at USC. I met with a lot of the Persian community in Los Angeles. I know many of them, and that is how I became familiar with it. In fact, the idea that there was a big difference between Israelis or Jews and Iranians, I only really realized, I think, probably after moving to Israel, because I sort of always considered them as having an affinity, a similarity in their cultures, in their experiences, in terms of the people, of course, not in terms of the government. And so that's sort of what has inspired me to become more involved in that. I was one of the organizers of the Women Life Freedom protests in Israel. It was the only place in the Middle East that actually held protests. Of course, we don't have the 80,000 scale that they had in Germany or some of the other places, but we did do multiple events. And I also have been one of the organizers of the mural project, bringing different murals of solidarity between the Israeli people and the people of Iran throughout the state of Israel, along with Houmen Khalili, whom some of you know very well. I guess I just wanted to start by saying like a few things about what's happening in Iran now. Not that I really need to educate any of you, but just for any of our additional viewers who don't really know, of course, right now, politically speaking, Iran's in a very, for them, for the regime, unfortunately, I think they're in a good place, which is bad news for the rest of the world. We see that after the death of Raisi and the foreign minister, there will be elections held on June 28th. Nobody's going to participate. That's the general sentiment. I think the last polls that I saw said approximately 80% of the eligible voters are not intending to vote. That is intentional because there is no democratic legitimacy under the Islamic Republic. So that's not surprising, but they will be replacing Raisi with someone after June 28th. We've also seen an ongoing oppression of women. We've seen even a greater crackdown on the gender apartheid policies that we see throughout Iran being committed by the morality police. Just yesterday, there was a video, I shared it recently, a video of a woman being, pushed violently into one of the vans of the morality police, the same way we saw with Mahsa Amini. And it's very unfortunate because I think that a lot of this, what we're seeing today from the regime is the byproduct of a weak policy on Iran from European nations in particular, as well as the rest of the Western world. And that weakness has emboldened oppression, and specifically oppression of minorities, oppression of women, as we know, oppression of athletes, oppression of musicians, of artists. This isn't, unfortunately, something new, of course. This is something that's been going on for 45 years. And even when you have brave, courageous voices like some of them here who have been speaking up, this isn't something that the general Western world understands. And that's what we're fighting for today. And so I think that one of the most important things that we can do is to show the world that there is this solidarity, and to show the world that we do have this common goal of fighting against an Islamist terrorist organization, which is the Islamic Republic of Iran, along with all of its proxies, whether it's the IRGC, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas in Gaza, or any of the other terror groups that they are supporting or have supported over the years. We need to present a united front against this. We need to continue to advocate and to educate the rest of the world about the values that they stand for versus the values that the West, and in the West, I'm including Israel for this discussion in terms of liberal values, what we stand for. I don't think there's a good general understanding of this. We know it, but not enough other people do. And so for me, it's been a mission to work with people at high level, whether they be, legislators or leaders, if I have the opportunity, as well as the grassroots level, to get as many people as possible to understand this message, that we have a shared goal of bringing down the Islamic Republic of Iran. And it's not because we want a war, because God forbid, the last thing we want is a war. We have enough war right now. But because the people of Iran deserve freedom, because they want freedom. And I think it's something that's been really painful for me to realize through all that I've learned about Iran and the Iranian people is that when we look at what's happening in Gaza today, it's very, very sad. And I don't want to see any Palestinian civilians die as a result of this war. I think every single death of a Palestinian civilian is a tragedy. However, I will say that the people of Iran have shown the rest of the world, and the people of Iran have shown the rest of the Muslim world and the Arab world what it looks like when you stand up to a dictatorship at all costs, at any cost in some cases. And so I think we cannot be making excuses for people who make excuses for terrorists. And this is something really important to remember, because there is no language that terrorism or that terrorists understand other than force. We must stop these regimes with whatever means that we have available to us. Ideally, not with violence, but we do need to have the courage to stand up to whatever comes our way when it comes to destroying, as they've stated so clearly, destroying essentially Western civilization. And so with that, I'll let someone else take the floor. Again, thank you so much for inviting me here. Natalie, you're truly a role model and a hero of mine as well. And I appreciate you bringing us all together this way.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you so much. We are all on the same side. And especially for me, as someone who's the daughter of an Israeli mother and an Iranian father, that was one of the biggest misconceptions I came across from people, was that when I would tell them, I'm Iranian and Israeli, their automatic reaction was, what's it like to be from two countries that hate each other? What's it like to have parents from two cultures who hate each other? And I would always have to explain to people, it's not the people. They don't hate each other. They once lived in peace. They once loved each other. It's the regimes. It's the governments.
We always loved each other. I mean, speaking historically, of course, from the time of Cyrus the Great, there's a true allyship between the Jewish people and the Iranian people. And that continued until 1979, as all of you here know. So this is something, this whole concept of being enemies, this is something that's foreign, and it's something that we should reject, and we should call out whenever anybody brings that up, because we are not enemies, we're allies in the fight against a shared enemy.